Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be talking about one of the most beloved queens from the entire Drag Race Pantheon franchise and break down and rank her performances on both of her seasons. That's right, we're talking about Jinkx Monsoon, our only two-time winner of Drag Race. We're going to rank all of her performances from Season 5 and All-Star 7 from 1 to 23. I'll kind of break down why I placed what performances where, and we'll go down memory lane and just kind of celebrate one of the most beloved and talented queens to ever come out of this franchise. So let's start off with the bottom, and there's really not that many Jinkx Monsoon performances that I just truly don't like. I think there's only 3. So I think the top 20 are all great performances, and the bottom 3 I would say are maybe less than. And so the bottom of my list is the TRL challenge on All-Stars 7.
Like my hip, I love is titanium, and we're aging at the same rate cause I'm very young.
And I have very specific reasons why I just don't think Jinkx did what was necessary for this challenge. It is a Y2K MTV golden era, I guess not golden era, but a resurrection of MTV, if you will, in that early 2000s when TRL was huge, music videos were huge, and they were just going to be giving a love letter to Y2K, which made sense because Y2K was really coming back into the culture. And it was how, 20 years later, everything becomes popular again. We were seeing that with Y2K, and we're still kind of seeing that with Y2K. So Jinkx is in a group with Evie Oddly, Jada Essence Hall, and the Vivienne, and they have to perform to the song Together Forever, which is, I think, the better of the two songs. The other song is Titanic, and it's just a little bit less specific. I feel like this one is giving very in sync, very Britney from Oops vibes. So it's a very specific era, it's a very specific sound, and I just feel like the Titanic group was really leaning into that Y2K energy with the references, with how they performed, with the choreo. And I feel like this group was focused so much less on the Y2K and was more we're gonna do girl group, but we're gonna be the quirky weirdos. We're all gonna have this different storyline. Evie was a robot, and the Vivienne was the British one, and Jada had to take a shit, and Jinkx was this 60-year-old woman pretending to be a 20-year-old pop star. It was just very confusing. Everyone pretty much disagreed with, the winners of the challenge being from this group, when it very clearly should have just been Shea and Monet on Team Titanic. And I think of everyone in this challenge, Jinkx definitely struggled the most. I think because, what she did in her performance had nothing to do with the prompt of the challenge. I don't think she looked Y2K. I don't think her performance gave Y2K. It was really you are doing a completely different challenge, which is fine, but also it looks very strange, and it's very confusing as to why you are pretending to be this 60-year-old woman on TRL. It was just too much. I don't think her verse was that great. She was putting on this old voice. This was not for me. It just was not for me. I think she took a big swing, but for me it was a big miss. Okay, now we have number 22, which was one of the first challenges she ever did on Drag Race. It is the Untucked Lip Sync Challenge.
Boo, just because you got a sugar daddy who pays for everything for you? Oh. I've never had a sugar.
A challenge that a lot of people want to bring back. I would be fine with seeing this again. I just think that there wasn't much to judge. You barely saw anybody. They had a couple lines each and you move on. So Jinkx is playing Mimi I'm First in the iconic Shangela fight, Sugar Daddy. So she has a huge role, and she could have won with this role. And I just feel she didn't really give much. Especially with Mimi I'm First, it's so easy to make her even more over the top than she is. And I feel this was just a very safe, kind of bland, forgettable performance from Jinkx, which is something you would not expect from her as one of the powerhouses of the franchise. So for me, this is at the very bottom because it was just, she was given a great role that she did absolutely nothing with. Okay, at number 21, we have the RuPaul Legendary Looks Design Challenge from All-Star 7.
Oh yes, she can.
Uh-oh, Ru, I think her corset's too tight.
Her leg's turning purple.
So we've seen Jinkx make 4 looks on Drag Race. None of them have been, standouts, but I think of all 4, this is my least favorite. And I think with the format of All-Star 7, you could kind of crash and burn and really not have many repercussions. Like, you weren't going to have, you know, negative critique shown. You weren't going to be in the bottom. You weren't going to be going home. So it was like, okay, and on All Stars 9 too, it's okay to kind of not try as hard. And I feel like that's kind of what we saw. Jinkx was like, I was looked to be very stoned, and we know that they had weed on set. So she looked to be very stoned when she was making this. And it was just like, I just don't like the asymmetricalness of this with the purple leg and the purple arm, but then the other leg's bare. And I don't like the makeup here with the little like lip. I just feel like she was going for almost like Saloon Girl, but it's also kind of giving Vegas-y. I don't know. I just don't see the vision of this look, and I don't think it's extremely flattering to her either. This is just not a look that I like. I don't think the judges liked it, and I think that it was like a nice try, but also you don't really have to try because you're not going home. So like, let's just move on with our lives. Okay, I lied, because there's one more performance in her pantheon of performances that I don't think worked, and that is at number 20. It is the acting challenge from All Star 7, Santa's School for Girls.
You shall not speak of the bearded one that way.
I have very specific issues with this performance. I think that Jinkx was really shooting for the stars here. Like, she did not have a leading role. I would say that the Vivian really had the, like, main role of this. She was, like, the killer. She was, like, the principal of this school. Also, this script made no sense. The script was crazy. It wasn't the worst we've seen, but it was not near the best either. And it's like, Evie had a bigger role. Like, Evie's the leader of the plastics, and Jinkx is playing Gretchen. She's not Katie. She's not Mrs. Norbury. She's not Regina George. She's not Janice Ian. Those were the 4 main roles in this: Raja, Vivian, Shay, and Evie. And so that left Jinkx like as one of the smaller background roles. And I think that she really tried to stand out and kind of chew up the screen time. But I think it ended up just kind of feeling like way too much. She's like screaming, and her voice, like, she's saying everything in this Valley Girl accent, which makes sense because she is playing Gretchen, but she's talking like this. And I'm like, let's get it moving, queen. Like, it just felt very, very heavy-handed, and like she was trying to make this smaller role bigger than it was. Unfortunately, I just think that it felt very try-hard, for lack of a better word, and I don't think it landed. So this is not one of my favorite Jinkx Monsoon performances, unfortunately. And given that she wasn't in the top this week, I feel like the judges also agreed with that. But also, I understand, because you want to win, you want to be in the top, but I just feel like with this, the performance that she was given, she did a little bit too much. Okay, at number 19, we have Jinkx's first ever performance from season 5. It is the Trash Design Challenge, where they were like jumping into trash bins and had to pull out random materials to make looks out of.
I'm serving 100% aquamarine Grecian red carpet couture.
And I do think this is more successful than the look we looked at previously, because I feel like there's a shape. I really like the cut. I feel like it looks somewhat well made. The color looks great on her. The wig looks great on her. The makeup, she had not fixed her makeup at this point in the season, so the makeup's a little wild. But I think as far as design challenges go, this is very safe. Not spectacular, but also not terrible. So that's why it's kind of like at the lower half of this ranking, but it's not the bottom for me. Up next, we have the Realness of Fortune Ball. Notice how all these design challenges are going to be at like near the bottom.
Jinkx Monsoon serving whatever happened to baby Jane Fonda.
This was a ball specifically about the Wheel of Fortune, but like some of the categories were a little bit random. Like, the first one was do like a Vanna White look, which made total sense. Vanna White was there. It was great. The middle look was like mashing 2 things together, which I can't say I watched a bunch of Wheel of Fortune, but I'm not quite sure how that like came into play. But she ended up doing Whatever Happened to Baby Jane Fonda, and did kind of a mixture of like Barbarella and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. So it was really, really fun. Then the third look is the one they had to make themselves. And this one looks very mishmash, threw some stuff together, but I do think it ends up looking pretty good. I like the way that she like placed some of the fabric. I like the makeup and the hair that she chose with this little veil. There's some more choices here that I like more than some of her other design looks. And I think that her Baby Jane look was great. Her Vanna White look was not super, like, I wouldn't look at this and just assume Vanna White, but I could say that for most of those looks for that category. Black was a weird choice, and she did luck out that Vanna was wearing black in this episode as well. but it was giving more like Stevie Nicks-y, like not really, but like, I don't know, like witchy Fleetwood Mac vibes. So I do think it's better than her previous design looks, and the Baby Jane look definitely like elevates it, but we're still not into like slayage territory yet for Jinkx Monsoon. Up next, we have the top 3 kind of random shit they had to do from season 5.
You want answers?
We want the tea, stupid.
You can't handle the tea!
They had to sit down with Rue, which I'm not really counting because it's just like a conversation. Then they had to do this courtroom scene where they were playing both the defender, the attorney. I've not watched Judge Judy in a long time. I need to like get my courtroom logo back in my brain. And the plaintiff, the person who's getting sued, the defendant, something. They were playing all 3 of those characters. But then they also did a music video to The Beginning, one of my favorite RuPaul songs. And I think Jinkx was fine. She was perfectly fine. But I think she gets outshined by somebody else in both aspects of this challenge. In the courtroom scene, I think Alaska was the clear standout, for me at least. She had really funny characters. She had really funny facial expressions, and she was just really, really giving in all 3 roles. And then in the music video, I think Roxy was the clear standout and was just like stunning. So I would rank Jinkx second in both of those parts of the challenge. So I feel like it's hard for me to rank this any higher when she was like not the standout at all. But she still did a good job. So I think this is a good spot for it. At number 16, we have her only bottom placement ever on Drag Race. It is the Sugar Ball.
This is Pacific Northwest stoner chick extravaganza look.
And I actually really, really like the look that Jinkx Monsoon made for this challenge. I think that all 4 of the looks I genuinely liked from this challenge in the 3rd category. So you really just had to pick like the best ones, who I think were Alaska and Roxy. And that unfortunately leaves Jinkx in the bottom with Detox, but I don't think that means that Jinkx did a bad job. I think that this kind of like candy striper, showgirl, Vegas-y kind of look was really, really fun. She looked stunning. Her makeup was so heavily improved by this point in the season. And I think that her other looks were fine. Her Sweet 16 maybe was just giving random person walking down the street, but it was fine. And then her like executive realness, I really liked this outfit. It was really good. So I do think that I like the looks from this ball overall better than the looks from her All-Star 7 ball. So that's why it ranks a little bit higher than it in this ranking. So we're like at the point of the ranking now where I genuinely like all of these performances. It's just some of them are like S tier and some of them are like A minus tier. So at number 15, we have her talent show from All-Star 7.
Sleep on me.
We see her singing one of her songs live. We have like a funny bit where she's like deep throating the microphone. But comparatively to what everyone else was doing at this talent show, and comparing it to some of the other talent shows we've seen throughout the years, this just felt very bare-boned. You know, we have seen some incredible things, from Aja jumping off a box, even from some of the performances in this with like Trinity and Jada having like full production numbers for their songs. This was just Jinkx standing there with a microphone. And while she did a wonderful job, I just don't think it stacks up to what other people were doing at this talent show. I wish there was some bigger concept, maybe some more stage props or something, because while Jinkx's talent can stand on its own, so can everyone else's on the season. And they all also brought other things to amplify their performances. So to me, this was a good talent show performance, but I think that she could have done more to elevate it to the same level that other people were doing on the season with her. At number 14, we have the TikTok dance challenge.
Peanut butter head, kiss my grit. Your mama's in the kitchen, but the oven on the fridge.
And I've always kind of had a little bit of an issue with Jinkx's performance in this challenge, because it did kind of feel like she read the prompt and then was like, I don't like that. I'm going to do my own thing that kind of, sort of, maybe fits into what was asked of us. And what she did was super funny. But is it a TikTok dance? I think it's a very loose interpretation, because she's this like MILF who is making a sandwich, and the moves are like, spread the peanut butter, slap the bread together. And I'm like, okay. But when you have people like Evie, who's really making a commentary on like youth culture on TikTok with their dance, and Monet and Shay like doing actual real dances that feel like they could be on TikTok, this approach, for me, I didn't care about as much. I liked the more one-to-one approach that other queens did in this challenge than to what Jinkx did here. But her screaming at her kid, like, I have sex, or whatever, like, it is funny. It's not what I personally was looking for in this challenge. So while I applaud Jinkx for, doing what she felt more comfortable with and what was more aligned with her drag, I was just more interested in what other people were doing in this challenge, personally. Number 13, we have the Black Swan ballet performance from season 5. She was paired with Ivy in this challenge, and they were basically doing a Lady Bunny RuPaul 1980s interpretation of them in New York together. Ivy was Lady Bunny and Jinkx was RuPaul. And I think this was a great performance. They had some fun choreography. There was a lot of jumping and leaping and, running. I think that Jinkx does great. I just think Ivy did a little bit better here. And Ivy stood out to be a little bit more. So a great performance from Jinkx, but still not one of my favorites that she's ever done. But it showed that she can do choreo and she can be, physical with her drag. So that was something we hadn't necessarily seen yet and weren't sure she could do. So seeing that was a thing was like, okay, then she really is the full package here. Up next, we have the RuPaul Roast from season 5.
It's gonna be hard to top Coco. But look at her, who would want to top Coco?
And this is ranked so low because there's really not much to go off of. Like, I feel like this was such a short performance. You have people like Alaska and Roxy and Alyssa that they really show a lot of their roast, at least 2 or 3 minutes of. And Jinkx, I think, got 40 seconds. I didn't count it, but it was 3 jokes and she's out. So there really just isn't much to go off of. She did have some funny jokes, but I do think other people were more funny in this challenge than her. So we'll see a longer, more precise set from her on All-Star 7. But I think for this challenge, she was good. Her look was great in this episode, but it's not the best that we've seen her do. At number 11, we have Can I Get an Amen? She and Ivy Winters were that one meme of I can sing higher than you can. I can sing with Mariah and Ariana. That was her and Ivy in this challenge as the only 2 real singers on this cast at that point. So they're going back and forth. Ivy's giving you restraint. Ivy's giving you the passion. And Jinkx is how long can I hold this note for? And she holds the note for 10 minutes. So we really get to see how great of a singer she is in this challenge, showing yet another side of what she can do in her drag. And this was just such a fun challenge to see the good and the bad. Jinkx was definitely one of the best. Number 10, we have the Draguation speeches from All-Star 7.
And then thrust into a world full of people who would just as soon run you down with their car and leave you for dead in the middle of the streets of Amsterdam.
I think Jinkx did a fantastic job. This is where she's, talking about, you ran me over with a car. I think this was a great performance. I think it takes a little bit of time to get into it. She's shuffling through notes. She's this isn't the right function. Hecate. It's okay, let's just get into what's going on here. But I think when she's actually into the meat and potatoes of her speech, it's fantastic, and she has such great energy. She thrives on stage with a microphone, just in front of an audience, just to entertain. This is her in her element, and she does a fantastic job with it. At number 9, we have a challenge that I was kind of worried for her in, but she very quickly proved me wrong and showed what she is made of. When she did the Legends Remix Challenge from All-Star 7, Episode 1.
Rub-a-dub-dub, get in my tub. Mommy's gonna scrub down all of these subs. Yes, I'm Jinkx and I aim to please. If you don't believe me, check my knees.
We'd really never seen her do something like this kind of dancey, poppy thing. And could she write a verse like that? Could she dance like that? We weren't really sure. But she did such a fun blend of her drag and the poppy, cunty, dancey kind of vibe that the song is, where she's talking about being a MILF. It's a little theatrical. It's a little but it's perfect. It's such a good blend. And I feel like she didn't go too far in either direction. She stayed true to her, but she also did what the song was asking. And she knew all the choreo. She hit all the beats. She looked fantastic. And I think she should have been in the top. Not the top 2 for this episode, but the top 4. I think she did a wonderful job. The rub-a-dub-dub, get in my tub. It's really fun, and she did so well in this challenge. Number 8, we have, when I was going back, I haven't watched season 5 in a very long time, probably like 5 years if we're being honest. I forgot how short everything is. Like the 41-minute episodes, everything is so short. And the perfume ad, I don't know why I remember it being so much longer, but it's like 20 seconds.
Delusion. Convince yourself.
These are 20-second ads, so there's really not much to it. But Jinkx's Delusion has obviously started like a catchphrase that people still use when talking about, you know, queens or people on Reddit or whatever. And she really just like sold the fantasy, and it was so funny. The contrast of her like on these men and then her like, you know, looking nasty on the couch after, like, it's just so good. And it was one of my favorites of this episode. And I think one of the most memorable challenges from those early couple years of the show. At number 7, we have an iconic moment from Jinkx. It is the veteran makeovers from season 5.
We are serving Mama and Gypsy realness. I think we really hit the nail on the head with this one.
That is where we meet the man who killed Judy Garland himself, which we then saw her call back to on All-Star 7. This is just like a really fun episode for her because she ends up with the oldest of the veterans and the one that looks about the hardest to put in drag. And, you know, Jinkx has had issues with her look. She's had issues with her makeup throughout the season. So you're going into this like, I think our Jinxie might be in trouble here. But she turns it the fuck out. He looks so gorgeous. She does kind of like a Liza and Judy thing, a very like vaudeville kind of vibe and theatrical. She looks great. Their performance is great. He's a fantastic person to have be your makeover partner because he's like in for whatever and he's committing to the bit. And it's just like a really, really nice runway and performance. And they look really good. They look like they could be mother and daughter. And they acted like they were mother and daughter. So this was such a good kind of like, you're expecting someone to flop and then they actually turn it out in the end. And it was just really, really satisfying to watch and a really fun thing to like revisit now. Okay, here at number 6, I think we have Jinkx's most underrated of her challenge performances because it's one I literally never hear a soul talk about. But I really, really liked it. And it is Dragu Rock, that like kids TV show, which was, I mean, this and the next challenge would never happen today. But it was really fun to watch for like back then.
Then let's all bounce and now shake your hands like this. Oh, isn't this fun?
And she was the host of this kids TV show. And she looked so fun. She had the perfect energy. Even when she didn't have lines, like she was always on. And this was like, I think the first time we really saw Jinkx's professionalism. This is episode 3, I think. And I think it was just really a good challenge performance for her. She was very much in her element. She was playing a character and she was having fun. And I had fun with her. Okay, now we are at the top 5 and we have one of her 2 challenge wins from season 5. We have the telenovela, another challenge that would never happen today, but it was definitely fun to watch.
No! Now that you mention it, we never talk about food.
And she is playing this like slutty daughter who's like gets possessed into having an orgasm by Coco Munchies. It's crazy. It's wild, but she is so funny in it and she's able to kind of like get the comic timing of like the scene down. And especially when her 2 scene partners are Coco and Alyssa, who are the bottom 2, the fact that she's able to still keep things going and have like a really fun performance is definitely showing how good she is as an actress, because she really didn't have much to volley off of, but this was great. And this was the episode with the iconic Day of the Dead look, and this is just like a slam dunk episode for Jinkx Monsoon. Up next, we have the Fairy Tale Justice episode.
That's right.
No, you're really Jesus Christ!
What's happening?
This dress is just really getting to me.
I have said in the past this, I don't think she should have won this episode. I probably would have given the win to Evie over her, but I still think she had a 10 out of 10 iconic performance as this like social media pig bitch. She has the moment where like her ear falls off and she's able to improv there. She's obviously just like a very fun person and she goes into improv just like willing to go there and willing to run with the moment. And I think that really, really showed, especially when she had people in her scene like Jada and like Monet who weren't necessarily funny. She again is still able to shine and not let other people's performances impact her own. She really just like owns her star power. She owns the scene and she does a really, really, really fun job. Also, this like porcupine look from this episode is one of my favorite Jinkx Monsoon looks ever. And again, no one talks about that. So it's just like a little underrated gem of Jinkx Monsoon. At number 3, we have her winning Snatch Game performance as Little Edie from season 5's Snatch Game.
When she steps into the voting booth, she just seizures. Spelling?
And this is another one where if we had more to work with or more to like watch, this could have been number 2, number 1, but there just wasn't a lot. Like the Snatch Game was like 7 minutes or like something like, it was very quick and we only get to see her maybe 2 or 3 times. But she's able to volley. She understands her character. Little Edie from Grey Gardens is such a perfect character for her to play, especially after like, this was shortly after the Grey Gardens film with Drew Barrymore and Jessica Lange had come out. So it was really kind of topical for people who were aware of that. And it was a really, really good choice that we haven't really seen many people play a character like this in Snatch Game. So it was definitely risky, but it fully paid off and she was fully in that character. This is one of the performances that I think like defined what Snatch Game could be. Because I mean, those early season Snatch Games are them just playing pop stars and hoping for the best. But this was like picking an outside of the box character that you think could really fit the mold of what the challenge is asking for and making it work. It didn't matter how popular or how famous your person was. It mattered what their characteristics were and how you could bring that to Snatch Game. Jinkx Monsoon is obviously one of the best Snatch Gamers of all time. She's one of the only few people who have won twice now, and this performance shows why. In second place, the runner-up is her All-Star 7 roast.
I am so honored to be honored here tonight at this imaginary event.
One of my favorite jokes of all time from any roast on Drag Race is the Trinity, you know, went to her boyfriend and was like, let's just be cousins. Like, that is so funny. She roasted everybody, but she's such a sweet and kind person that she can really go there with the jokes and no one is offended because it's just Jinkx being Jinkx, and she did such a good job owning the stage. I think this was way better than her Draguation speech. I feel like she really went into this with more of a like punch, like from the jump. Every joke landed. The like snorting coke off Evie Oddly's dick and making her realize she was her mother. Like, that is so funny and so original. You know what I mean? So many roast jokes are kind of like reused and like revamped, but all of Jinkx's content was so original and so Jinkx. So I loved this performance from her. And in first place, how could it be anything else? It was her double Snatch Game from All-Star 7, Natasha Lyonne and Judy Garland.
I was in a Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra sandwich.
Now, Natasha Lyonne was great. She had the voice down, she had the look down, but it's really the Judy Garland that's like the star of the show here. She had the voice, she had the mannerisms. I think it got a little bit showboaty at times with her singing, but I still think it was so fun with her bringing up her veteran from the Makeover in season 5 with her like sandwich and the way that she spelled it. Like, it was just so funny, and we've never seen anyone do Judy Garland, which is crazy since she is one of the most beloved staples of like gay culture. This was like the second episode of All-Star 7, and it showed what a powerhouse Jinkx Monsoon was still to this day, and I think really elevated Snatch Game to the next level and showed what someone really can do when they're a master at their craft, like Jinkx Monsoon is here. So I don't know how you could pick anything else to be her best challenge performance of all time. She won this episode, and a lot of people rank this as their favorite Snatch Game of all time, her Judy Garland performance. So maybe that's another video for another time, is ranking my favorite personal Snatch Games ever. So let me know what you think. I would love to make this a series, just going over like some of the titans of Drag Race and ranking all of their performances. So if there's someone that you would like to see me do next, comment it down below. If you are not already, make sure you are following Drag Duel on YouTube and Instagram, because the season 2 promos will drop on Monday, this upcoming Monday, September 23rd. And season 2 will be premiering October 14th on the Drag Duel YouTube channel. So we have been recording this since April. We have been putting all of our time, all of our effort, and really taking the time to make this an even bigger, better season than season 1. So no rushed editing, not people going crazy. This is just gonna be a really fun ride with some incredible drag artists from around the world. We have kings, things, monsters, queens, and they are all going toe to toe and head to head. And this season is wild. So make sure you are subscribed to the Drag Duel YouTube. It will be linked down below, and make sure you do not miss the premiere of Drag Duel Season 2 on October 14th. Also, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, and make sure you're following me on all of my social medias, all linked in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.